MGTOW, IBMOR Warrior. Today we're going to talk about receiving knowledge which threatens your worldview. Receiving knowledge which threatens your worldview. Now, on my last video where I talked about the movie Get Out, I made a comment saying that this is not a conspiracy channel or a metaphysical channel. And upon further review, I must retract that statement, because if I'm really trying to help my MGTOW and IBMOR brothers escape the matrix beyond just bitches, as I said in a previous video, I must share certain knowledge that I have. I gotta do it. Because I saw this video by Bobby Hemmett years ago, and he was talking about how we're not gonna win this war on a physical 3D level. These elites have too much power in this world for that to happen. But we gotta win this shit on a spiritual level. You feel me? So I'm gonna talk about a little bit of that shit in this video, a little bit of the conscious shit in this video. Now, the jumping off point for this video was another Periscope stream by Daylight. If you don't know who Daylight is, he's primarily known as a battle rapper. He's just an all-around brilliant guy. And the stream was titled something to the effect of 10 Reasons I Will Never Date or Marry a Black Woman. And some of the stuff was the normal stuff, like of course the attitude and all the fake shit they put on themselves or whatever. But the one thing that really resonated with me and hit me hard was we talked about the closed-mindedness of the black woman. About how they always want to do basic ass shit. Like go to the movies and go to the mall and go to the theme park, you know. But if you ask them to do some other shit, like go hiking or go to the garden and pick fresh vegetables or go whitewater rafting and shit like that, you know, they're not trying to do nothing that's outside the box. And I resonate with that so much. You feel me? The most closed-minded person on this planet is the black woman. And I have certain experiences with that. And I'm going to relate that into how we as men need to have the ability to receive knowledge, even if it contradicts our worldview. So with women, for example, an early example I could think of was with my mom, because I remember like my dad's family was ahead of their time in terms of consciousness. Like back in the 90s, they were into Dr. Sebi and the veganism and the black consciousness and things like this. And I remember I had a conversation with my mom about hot dogs. I don't know if she was trying to make hot dogs for lunch or dinner or something. I don't know what it was, but I remember we had this conversation about hot dogs, and I'll never forget, like I was standing outside the bathroom and she was in the bathroom like doing her hair or some shit. And I was telling her, like, do you know how hot dogs are made? Like, it's basically blended up meat scraps in a casing, and you don't really know what's in the blended up meat mixture. You know, there's rat and all kinds of crazy stuff that's in it, and you don't even know what you're eating. You know what I'm saying? You're just eating a bunch of scraps. And I was like laying out facts and things to her, and she was basically on some stuff like, well, I've been eating this stuff my whole life, so you're not going to change it now, and I'm not dead by eating it, so like, what's the big deal type of thing. So here I am, a little kid at the time, and I'm coming to her with facts, and she can't do nothing but blow it off and just be emotional about it. You know, fast forward to adulthood, I've had certain black women over my apartment And a movie that I like to show people is Zeitgeist. Now, if you've never seen Zeitgeist, I don't mind if you turn this video off and go watch it now. Now, Zeitgeist, the first one, because there's three different, it's a three-part, it's a trilogy, okay? But the first one is the one that I show people because it's a great jumping off point for showing people about some of this knowledge. It's a great introduction for people who are very matrix-minded. And the first part, the first movie in the Zeitgeist trilogy itself, like the first movie itself has three parts. And part one is about religion, part two is about 9/11, and part three is about the Federal Reserve. So I've shown several black women this, most notably my ex-girlfriend. And for example, I sat with my ex-girlfriend and watched the whole movie. And my ex-girlfriend is the type that goes to church every Sunday. That was another thing that Daylight talked about on the stream, about how black women just won't leave the church alone. That's why he can't really fuck with them. And so she's the type that goes to church every Sunday, very devout, all of that kind of stuff. And we sat and watched the whole Zeitgeist. Now, and the religion part of Zeitgeist is cold because they really break down this whole Jesus thing and this whole Christianity thing. They break that shit down irrefutably in a way that not even a Christian can really refute it. And when we got finished watching the movie, I turned to her, I was like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think about that? And she was like, and this is what she told me, y'all. I swear this is what she told me. She said, everything they were saying was right, but that's not going to stop me from going to church, and that's not going to stop me from believing what I believe. That's literally what she told me. She said everything in the movie was right. She said everything they were saying was right. But that's not going to change the way that she thinks or her going to church every Sunday. And black women in general are just very close-minded in so many ways. I mean, when it comes to obviously the type of men that they pick, they all stick to one type of man, no matter if she's a corporate chick or a ghetto chick. All black women only stick to one type of man. Okay, they're very close-minded to any type of man outside of that. Okay, black women stick to, black women tend to have one or two genres of music they like, and they stick to that. Just very close-minded. Okay, they're very close-minded sexually for the most part. You know what I mean? All of that stuff. Now we as men, we have to, even if we were raised by a single mother, which I was, like, we have to rise above that thinking of getting in our feelings when information is presented to us. When information is presented to us, we have to look at it objectively. And a lot of men in this day and age, because of the fact that single mothers are ubiquitous, a lot of men get emotional when facts are presented. But we have to, in order to get free, we have to have the openness to information when it comes, because information a lot of times is what's going to save us. You know what I mean? For example, I grew up in the church. You know what I'm saying? The church was my life. Like, I was in church more often than not during the week. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was choir rehearsal, youth group meeting, worship service on Sunday, Sunday school, Bible study, you know what I'm saying, revival, okay, like whatever. Like I was in church all the time, and church was my life, especially as a teenager. You know what I'm saying? I really spent a lot of time in the church. Church was a huge part of my upbringing. You know what I'm saying? And Christianity, like, I really was a person who really believed. Like, I wasn't one of these fair weather Christians like most of these people are. Like, I really was a believer. I really like read most of the Bible. That's why people can't really come at me with Bible verses. You know what I'm saying? Because I've read more of the Bible than most of these Christians out here. Because when I was in Christianity as a teenager, like, I read most of the Bible. Real talk. I mean, I had a theology class in my high school because I went to a Catholic school as well and went to a Baptist church. So, like, I had, Bible study in so many different ways. I was really about that Christian life. But I eventually came out of it because even though I was very resistant to coming out of it, at the same time, like, when I see stuff that's true, when I see truth, like, I gravitate towards it. That's the type of person I am. When I see truth, I gravitate towards it. So it's like, it took me a little while because religion is one of those things that's ingrained so deeply. But when I see truth, I just have to gravitate towards it. It's like, my bridge out of Christianity was the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. This was like maybe around the tail end of '09. And I started to watch a lot of the Israelite heritage videos on YouTube. And those brothers are very knowledgeable. You know what I'm saying? Much more knowledgeable about the Bible than any Christian. If you watch Hebrew Israelite videos in general, those brothers are way more knowledgeable about the Bible than Christians. But that's a whole other story. But that was sort of my bridge out of Christianity. And the more I learned, the more that even the Hebrew Israelite thing was not good enough. You know what I mean? I had to come out of like religious doctrine altogether. And I remember, like, back in those days, that's also when I started to get into the Black Conscious lectures and things like that. It was a lot of Phil Valentine, you know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff like that. And I remember on YouTube, I used to always see a suggested video by Bobby Hemmett. And the video was titled something to the effect of, "What if Jesus Christ was the devil?" And I remember seeing that and get so triggered by just the title of that. Like, oh, what blasphemy. Like, it would be such a sin for me to even click on that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of Bobby Hemmett stuff back then was too hardcore for me at the time. You know what I'm saying? Now, I go back and I listen to those Bobby Hemmett lectures. I love Bobby Hemmett now. But back then, when I first started getting into the lectures, I would listen to Phil Valentine and Delbert Blair, and Polite was just coming out, was like just starting to come out, like maybe a little bit after that, things like that. But Bobby was way too hardcore for me at the time because he would say shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if Jesus Christ was the devil? You know what I mean? And that was so triggering to me as a person who was a Christian and just like starting to come out of Christianity. But eventually I started to realize the truth that people like that were telling. And even if it challenged my very core beliefs, I had to realize truth for what it was. Another thing recently too, in the last couple years, there's certain channels like RFG Chosen Run and Zachary K. Hubbard who have been exposing the fixing of sports leagues. You know what I'm saying? And how all major sports are fixed and rigged. Now, I grew up a huge sports fan. I have an encyclopedic knowledge of sports from the 90s and the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? I grew up a huge sports fan. You know what I'm saying? And up until about like a year or two ago, I was a huge sports fan. Huge. But certain people started to bring out the knowledge, you know what I mean, like Zachary K. Hubbard, like RFG Chosen One and others, started to bring out the knowledge of all of this shit being fixed. You know what I'm saying? And the fact of the matter is, all major sports are fixed. And when those guys started to bring out the irrefutable proof, and even some people on Twitter and things like that will show you irrefutable proof. When I started to see the irrefutable proof, it was like, damn, you know, sports were part of my core upbringing, and my core belief system was sports. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that was toppled down by these dudes. You know what I'm saying? But when I see truth, I have to gravitate toward it. You know what I'm saying? If something is true, and I know something is irrefutably true, I'm not going to deny it. You know what I'm saying? So these dudes have proven without a shadow of a doubt, and not just them, but just people on the internet in general who are vigilant about this knowledge, have proven without a shadow of a doubt that all major sports are fixed. You know what I'm saying? So even though I grew up and that was part of my value system, I'm not going to deny that off of my emotion. I'm not going to deny that sports are fixed off my emotion. You feel me? So all I'm saying is that we as men, in order to really be on this journey and really escape the matrix, like, we have to know how to handle knowledge when we come across it, even if it contradicts our worldview. You know what I'm saying? My worldview has been turned upside down several times in my journey. You know what I'm saying? But that's okay. A lot of y'all need to be open to that. Because if you're really on a journey to escape the matrix, if you're really on a journey for truth, like, your worldview is going to be turned upside down a couple times, at least. You feel me? I mean, and just to close out, on a MGTOW and IBMOR level, it was the same thing about women, and I think that's the major thing that many of us IBMOR and MGTOW have in common, is that most MGTOW and IBMOR, like, our worldview about women was turned upside down. You know what I'm saying? Unless you were raised by, you know, a father who had a MGTOW attitude, you know what I'm saying? If you're coming into MGTOW, that means your worldview about women has been turned upside down. You know what I'm saying? You grew up, you were trained to serve women, that women were princesses, they were to be put up on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying? That they were so nice and sweet and gentle and all this other shit. And something happened to make you turn to MGTOW, and learning the MGTOW knowledge has turned your worldview on women upside down. And the fact that you're in MGTOW or in IBMOR is a beautiful thing, because it means that you've accepted that knowledge. Now it's time for a lot of y'all to accept a lot of other harsh red pills in other areas beyond the bitches. And that's what I tried to come across with in this video. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. This is MGTOW IBMOR Warrior. I'm out this bitch. Peace.